Actually, Abby's design.
Is who?
Abby. And a lot of people don't know.
Does she do t-shirts?
She does. Well, she's working on it. She's building up her confidence. So a lot of people don't know.
I need this like as a t-shirt.
Yes. Yes, babe. I'll tell her when she comes. How y'all doing? Welcome to the Friday Experience. Got my homegirl Natalie Alexander with me.
I'm here. I'm excited.
So let me share. Because I know a lot of y'all don't get the notifications without me sharing. So, alright. How y'all doing, man? Where y'all watching from? Let me know where y'all watching from. Because I would love to know where you guys are watching from. I should really get my laptop because my tablet is moving crazy slow. Yeah. But yeah, welcome to the Friday Experience. Today we're gonna continue our conversation. Today might be the last conversation. I'm not early. I'm on time. I'm actually still 8 minutes late, Sheila. It's cool. See, she's at work.
Oh, wow.
So what she does, she tries to schedule her breaks around the Friday Experience, which is really dope. Yeah. But you know, I'm always trying to. Mama. No, Mama, don't touch. Don't touch, Mama. I'm always. I try to start streaming at 7:30.
Okay.
I'm always late.
Okay.
So I think they've just gotten used to me being late. Mama. And usually I'm behind the keyboard.
Okay.
See, this is Natalie's first time at the Experience.
Yes.
So I'm breaking everything down to her. But y'all know how we do. We live. It's 9:30. It don't be. Oh, you know what? I just found out, Sheila, that sometimes the notifications be turning on late.
Oh.
I don't have an answer for that. That's why I try to share it. Because I don't know why it does that. I have no idea. But we're going to work on that. Mama, thank you, Mama. Thank you. You know, this is the world. The world can see you. She makes her debut every Friday.
Absolutely.
She's on every Friday. Every Friday. But today we're going to start our conversation about, she's usually not like this on it. I think because it's not on the keyboard like what she's used
so
to.
It's new.
Yeah, so she's just excited about the newness.
I got you.
I still didn't share this yet. There we go. Yeah, so I'm working on trying to figure out why Facebook is acting like that.
Did you take care of it? Yeah. Come on now.
Mama, you're going up and down. You're like confusing me. Like I'm getting confused.
Come here.
All right, here we go. Now I can share. Oh. And it's mad delayed. Anyway, okay, so we got Natalie, who is going to be. What are you, Natalie? Are you a therapist, a psychologist, a social worker, counselor?
I'm a licensed professional counselor.
A licensed professional counselor. 'Cause I never know the title
Right.
to give you.
Right.
But
Or just Natalie.
or just Natalie. Okay, that works too. That works too. But Natalie has agreed to join us. And I invited Natalie because she came to heart. Natalie's actually very awesome, for those of you who don't know her. Her spirit is amazing. And I believe that we are of the same spirit, but me and Natalie actually think very differently, which I love. I love the fact that our way of thinking, our way of expression is just different.
Good.
You know, so I know y'all love me, but y'all can't grow with just one fruit, right? God designed variation so we can get a balanced nutrition.
Right.
So I do believe in bringing in different flavors. Sorry, I'm still sharing it. I know I can't multitask. You know, I'm terrible at multitasking. But I do, I believe Natalie has a lot of insight that she can share with us in regards to how to heal, especially since we've been dealing with forgiveness. And Natalie, what we've been talking about is, you know, forgiveness is a broad subject matter, if you will. But I've been dealing with it mainly from a biblical perspective, and dealing a lot with the concept of forgiveness, how the Bible will use the word forgiveness.
Okay.
And you know how we read English translations, and a lot of times we miss some of the nuances that the original language is trying to give. So we kind of pull some of those out.
Right.
For example, the first time the word forgiveness is translated in English is, of course, in the Old Testament in Hebrew. It's actually not the word forgiveness in Hebrew. It's a word that means to carry or to bear. You know, so we kind of dealt with that concept of bearing it as a form of forgiveness. Because forgiveness as a whole, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. See, that's the beauty, because Natalie's an expert, so I'm about to learn today. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we understand forgiveness as release. You know what I mean? Releasing responsibility, releasing power, just releasing as a whole. To forgive is to release. If you get your student loans forgiven, it's a release.
So releasing the debt.
Yes, exactly, right. So in the sense of, you know, forgiving someone because of their offense, it's like releasing them from that offense.
What they owe you, the comfort and the healing that they owe you, because they're responsible for that offense.
Right. See, even the way she worded, that's like, you know, that's like so crazy. Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. So it's about to be like, this is about to be really great. So when you look at it from the biblical perspective, talk about bearing that, how when you release them from it, you now have to bear it. You know, and that's like a step that a lot of people want to skip. So we that got really heavy. That got really deep. And then we dealt with forgiveness in the New Testament. Well, our pivot point was Jesus, you know, saying, if you forgive, then your Heavenly Father will forgive, etc., etc. But then there's another text where Paul asks us to forgive. And as a form of not grieving the Holy Spirit. Because the Holy Spirit wants to forgive through us. But that word there, where it says forgiving one another, it's in Ephesians, is actually not the word forgive neither. That word actually needs to extend grace.
Absolutely.
You know, so we dealt with that aspect of forgiveness, of extending grace and all that. So it was really, really good. But in the midst of the conversation, I was trying to separate forgiveness from relationships, not in the sense of, I want to deal with forgiveness as it is, but through the conversation, a lot of people were expressing, you know, how certain people that they need to forgive, because forgiveness is really for us, not really for them, it's for us. To be able to be released from all of that. Because when we ask God to forgive, it's the same thing. He bears it on our behalf and etc. So that's kind of, I'm giving you really like
No, I'm following.
This
is good, because it's actually setting the foundation for what I had today. So,
nice.
Yeah, so keep going.
See how the Spirit
works?
works?
You keep talking so that I can jump in and be right, you know.
Dope.
Right
So as we were discussing it, a lot of people, they are trying to forgive. They want to forgive. Let me say that. They want to forgive, but either they're still interacting with the person that they're trying to forgive, so it's difficult because, you know, every time you're around that person who offended you, that pain comes up, that emotion comes up, all of that stuff, you know? And then, you know, the person, when that person's name is brought up, it does some things to you. Sometimes it's hard to even articulate why you're angry. It's like they did something and you know it was them. Be careful, babe.
Sorry.
And then trying to articulate like what exactly, because we even dealt with how sometimes it's not so much what they said or what they did, but it's what they said or what they did, what it attached to, because there'll be things in us. So when they say something and we believe what they said to be true, it attaches to that and it hurts because it hit something that we have, you know, identified with. So anyway, I am not. Hey, what's up, Tiny? What's up, Ed? I'm not the most sensitive of people. Like, I love people, but I'm very like straightforward, very blunt, very like and I mean, it has its perks. Trust me. But it doesn't work in every setting. Right? So I don't know. I couldn't find really the words. Because I don't want to be like, I don't want to be that guy who's like, just get over it. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy. But I recognize that it's a process. But I was never taught how to deal with the process of when you're hurting. And you want to release it, but you're hurting. You know? How does that work? I guess, you know, because I just said a whole lot and I think I've done enough talking. But is there a process? What are some things that we can do where when we are hurting, we're trying to release this that we're trying to forgive the person, but we're trying to heal from the hurt as well. You know, release the effects. And I might not be using the right words, and maybe you can help.
So you're asking me how to actually move through the process?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And to the point of, number one, releasing, and number two, I guess being in a better emotional place.
Absolutely.
As it pertains to the offender.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Yeah, that's a great way to word it. Yeah.
So it is multi-layered.
Mm-hmm.
This is multi-layered, and what I'll start by saying is that I agree with you. Forgiveness is a process.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process that starts with a decision and includes perspective. Right? The first thing that comes to my mind when I think about forgiveness, and let's just look at perspective first.
Okay.
Because when Jesus was on the cross, this comes to my mind. When he was on the cross, and a series of events that happened just before and just after he says it. But he said what? Forgive them, Father, for what?
They know not what they do.
They know not what they do. So half the time, when people are offending us, they really don't know what they're doing. Right? So then it takes us to that place of, yes, it hurt and it goes down deep. But then the decision comes when I say, I'm going to decide to go through this process. Right? When you are baking a cake, it's a process.
Yes.
You put the ingredients in, you mix it till it's a certain texture, you put it in and you wait. Mercy. It's a process. Before you get the end result, and before it comes out good the way you want it to come. Right. You got to decide that you're going to bake the cake first. Yes. So you have to decide that, at the moment that you realize that you've been offended, you have to decide, I'm going to forgive you. And with all the definitions, with all the meanings of forgiveness, I am going to release. I am going to take on. I am going to take another perspective. I'm going to have compassion on you. So that's the other point here. When Jesus was saying, forgive them for they know not what they do, he knew that had they known who they were messing with, they would not have done that to the extent that they did what they did to him. And we don't know the fullness of how they treated him and what they did to him.
We only got a glimpse of it.
So he interceded on their behalf because they really just don't know. Right? So I am writing a book, and a lot of what I write, a lot of the perspective that I bring out is really taking into account the other person's point of view. So the name of the book is Daddy Issues, and it's in the works.
Absolutely.
But just to put a little bit something out there, a lot of our, those of us who suffer with daddy issues, which
I could say is a good amount of us,
right? Really don't know where our daddies came, what they went through, why they ended up at the place where they're absent in whatever form that they're absent.
So we don't know their history,
right? And we're walking around like hurt, mad, trying to get into relationships, trying to sustain relationships, not knowing that, man, whatever it is that he went through, whatever it is that influenced him to get to the place where he didn't want to deal with kids, right? And so I'll just put that there. But in whatever the offense was, and whoever wants to send one, we can address that. We can unpack that.
And thank you for saying that, Natalie. Actually, so if you're watching live, and even if you're watching it, when it's over and you're watching it after it's been posted, if there is something that you want to ask specifically, I said specifically, right? Not specifically. No, right. If you want to ask specifically, there's something that you want to deal with, I want you to share it. And I put this in the group. If you're not a part of the Friday Experience group, please join the group, because that's where I do all of my announcements. Okay. I don't share my announcements. On your Facebook? I do sometimes, but I really want to cater to the community. You know what I mean? Okay. So please join the group so that we can deal with it. And if you have an offense now, you're more than welcome to share it if you have any personal questions or general questions, or if you're asking for a friend. By all means, you can share all of those, even as we're talking. That also goes for you guys, which I know you two already know. But you said something that was interesting that I kind of want to deal with. It's this idea of they don't know what they're doing. That even when I read it in the scriptures, it's hard for me to accept that. Like, how do you not know? Like, it's one thing, for example, if I use myself as an example, right? When I was sleeping with a lot of women, I didn't know what I was doing, right? I had no idea.
Okay.
I was just sleeping with a lot of women. I didn't know about how I was connecting with all these women. Didn't know about how it affects them, with me sleeping with all these women. I had no idea. I had no idea. What I did know, though, is that I did not care to know how it affected the other woman. I knew that much.
Right.
I knew, in general, women get attached, women catch feelings. And instead of considering that, I made a decision that said, well, I'm going to circumvent that. I'm going to find my way out of dealing with her emotions. I made those conscious decisions. The magnitude I may not have known, but I knew what I was doing in that sense. I knew that she could catch feelings, but that's her problem. I made a decision to make it her problem. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. And to soften that blow, I would be sure to verbalize that, we're just friends, this is nothing more. But I also, at the same time, as a form of manipulation, would treat her better than anybody else would treat her. So she could desire more, though I didn't want more. So when she tried to come at me like she wanted more, I could say, but I told you. See, and that's how I was able to be comfortable. Yeah, I told you. But I knew, if you treat someone as awesome as I was treating them, that they would want more. But that's what I want. I wanted you to be around, but I didn't want to have that responsibility. So I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was doing to a degree. Had I known the major impact, I can't say at that time that would have made a difference because of the type of person that I was.
Right. But let's take it from the perspective of one of these women that you slept with, one of them may have been devastated by you walking away after she gave you that part of her.
Right.
She has to consider, in order to forgive you, that you really did not know the depth of the effect that you had in her life, right?
Got it.
Right? Yeah. And to some degree, if any of them seek forgiveness, or if you're available, or if at all possible, they may come to you and be like, this is how you affected my life, and give you an opportunity to be accountable and to be aware, right? Because the scripture, at some point, some of the soldiers that crucified Jesus, they came to realize that, oh my God, this was this. So they had to come to a reckoning, to an awareness of knowing what they did. But the forgiveness already happened before they realized what they did.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's actually one of the major questions. Do I have to go to the person? The person have to... Should I wait until they know what they've done to forgive them? So I guess I'll ask you. I think you answered it, but just so that it can be clear. Yeah. Let's say, I'll do something light, but the principle being the same, right? Let's say, I stepped on your toe, right? I stomped on your toe, right? And I hurt you. Do you have to see... Do I have to be remorseful before you can forgive me?
No.
Okay. No. Break it down.
No. I am going to, and so this is when I say this is layered, right? We're talking me personally, the hypothetical situation of you and me personally. So, ow, that hurt. You stomped on, and I'm looking at you and you're looking like...
Right, exactly.
And?
I did it. Okay.
What you gonna do?
Right.
So, yeah, I'm gonna go in my little prayer closet in my mind, or wherever that is, and probably cuss you out in prayer.
Yeah. In
Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
With the bleep.
Yeah.
And my toe hurts, and now I'm limping, and I can't wear the cute stilettos that I was planning to wear tomorrow. Like, all of that.
Yeah.
Like, bring it all to Him. Okay? And then as I'm bringing it out, because when you're talking to your homegirl, you're talking to your best friend, you hear yourself talk, stuff comes out, some emotion comes out, and then after it's out, you're feeling a little bit better about the situation, right? But then after that, I can be like, all right, well, why would he do that? Like, why would he do something like that? Well, he would probably do something like that because maybe he didn't see my foot, or maybe he did. Maybe he was mad at me. So I might, to some degree, I might be like, did I do something? No, I didn't do nothing. I was just here sitting down, minding my business. Well, man, he probably has some real problems. And who I am, I would probably seek to figure it out and kind of, because I'm a clinician, do a little bit of a mental seeking, to like, what is that? Probably observe you for a little bit and probably determine that, all right, you're not aware of your surroundings. You are not emotionally aware. You're not emotionally intelligent. So you're really just not connected.
I see it.
I'm after.
Yeah, but keep going.
So you're really not emotionally connected. So that's why he did it. All right. Then my next step might be, hey, did you know that the other day, like, you stomped on my foot? It really hurts. Did you realize how bad it hurt? And give you an opportunity to be aware. Because here's the other thing. Our community does not encourage this kind of interaction. You stomp on my foot, I'm mad, I keep it inside, and I just hold it, right? I've heard people say that why should I say anything? He's not going to change. But I will always answer, he doesn't have to change. He has to be aware. Know what you do. Know what you did.
Wow.
And how it affected me.
Yeah.
After that,
yeah.
then I will continue in my healing.
Yes.
You deal with anything else.
Right.
I'm let it go because I understand why you did it as far as I'm concerned. Other than that.
That's actually deep.
Yeah.
I hope y'all caught that. Like, it's not about trying to change the person, but bringing that awareness to them, because that's actually a form of grace, to give them an opportunity now to deal with it. Whether they choose to or not is irrelevant as far as your healing, but a part of your healing, like we talked about forgiveness last week, is to extend that grace. We were talking about how do you extend grace to someone who offends you, but bringing it to their awareness is a form of grace.
Yes.
I'm bringing to your awareness the pain that you caused, the effects of your words, the effects of etc.
Right. And what I want to say is that this is where you can't separate forgiveness from relationship.
Right.
Because if your brother offends you, you let him know.
Yes.
Right. And if he accepts it, then you gain a brother.
Yeah.
Right. If not, okay, it is what it is. You keep it pushing.
Right.
I feel like I need to share this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have always been a lover of people and very accepting of people, whoever they are, whatever you look like. It just didn't matter to me. Now, back then, in my mind, I always thought, because I love me, you must love you too. And I had to learn the hard way that people don't love themselves as much as I love me, in terms of who I know myself to be, right? There are insecurities and things that, of course, I deal with and have dealt with. But, so there was a lady, I remember, I was at a community something, and they were playing Wobble Baby.
Wobble Baby.
Wobble Baby, Wobble Baby.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Wobble. They were playing the Wobble song.
Yeah. So, I thought that was a game.
No. The music was playing.
Yeah.
The music was playing Wobble. And so, the young lady was just across from me, and I was acquainted with her. And the lyrics are playing, and we're bopping our heads, and I was like, and the guy, one of the lyrics says, something about big booty, back it up, something like that, right?
Yeah, that part, yeah.
So I was like, oh my gosh, so she was dancing.
I just respond to it.
Right. So she was like dancing. I was like, oh yeah, like, this is for you. This song is for you at the big booty, back it up part.
Oh, because she had the big booty to back it up. Got it. It makes sense, right? So you was like, this got to be.
I'm like, No. I'm about to get those hands, as they say.
Right. She took offense.
She was upset. She was upset. And, a couple of her girls had to talk her down because she was ready to fight me. And I was like, I didn't know. Like, I really didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And she's a beautiful woman. Like,
right.
I mean, why would I do something to hurt you right then?
Right.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when her anger brought to my awareness that you didn't like that comment. So please forgive me.
Yes.
But she did not grant me that. So, it is what it is. But, like I said, over the years I've learned that people are who they are, and they have what they have, and they process the way they do.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll be the same as me, and sometimes it won't.
Right. Wow, that was so deep, babe. We're gonna share a question or something that was.
Carolyn's question.
Yeah, go ahead. And if there's other questions, you can read it too.
Carolyn said, "So what if I was aware of my broken pieces, told a person about my broken pieces, and they targeted those exact traumas? Can it still be said that they don't know what they are doing?"
Yes. Yeah. It can still be said that they don't know what they're doing because they don't know the value. They did not know the value of those broken pieces. And a lot of us don't. When we have not experienced our own brokenness, we really can't value somebody else's broken pieces. So we have to be careful about who we share our broken pieces with. We've got to be able to know that they're feeling us. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Because our broken pieces are very, very fragile. Broken, right? We want to be able to know that the person understands. Like, you know, when you give somebody an egg, a raw egg, you say, okay, just be careful, don't drop it, because if you drop it, it'll make a mess, and you can't clean up a messy egg. You just have to and it'll yucky. Same thing with our broken pieces. Like if they drop our broken pieces, it makes a bigger mess. So we have to be able to know that the person that we share our broken pieces with is aware of how serious this thing is and how fragile our broken pieces are, so we don't further trauma.
And that's a decision that we have to make on the front end. 'Cause what I'm hearing you say is with them not knowing, because I know that's something I'm definitely going to have to work with, and I know a lot of us are going to have to work with, them not knowing. It's a matter of them just not understanding fully the extent or the weight of what they're doing.
Right.
Like they may know that they're being manipulative, right? But they don't understand the extent, the weight of how that type of behavior is, the level of pain that it's causing. Like they don't understand the depth of it all. They may be aware of this, but there's so much more. It's like the iceberg, you know. I see the iceberg, but you don't really see the iceberg. What you're seeing is so small in comparison to the size of the iceberg, you know. And that's what it is for most wicked people, like so-called wicked. We may have to even talk about that.
Okay.
If someone, because I struggle. I love people. As insensitive as I am, I actually do love people. I love people a lot. I'm just when I say I'm insensitive, I just mean I'm really, really raw. Like I am of the mind that it's good or bad. I don't know. That's my mindset. That's it right there. Like if it's true, the good or bad is based on how you take it, right? Because it's true. I understand that there's good and better way to present truth, but some truths, it may be just difficult to accept. So I don't waste. I use the word waste, right? Because I'm so insensitive, right? But I don't waste a lot of time. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I do consider that. I consider people's feelings. I don't want to sound like I'm cold-hearted. I consider people's feelings, but I don't compromise. If I have to choose between their feelings and the truth, I choose the truth every time. I'll put it that way.
Why?
Because I believe that the truth, there's the value in the truth that can't be measured in comparison to anything else. So I'd rather give you the truth, because with that there's so much you can do, while with your feelings, they can shift, they can change, they go as you grow. The things that you used to love, you don't love anymore. The things you used to hate, you don't hate anymore, because as you are evolving, your feelings will shift, but that truth is steadfast. So I'd rather give you that truth. I will consider where you are. And even now, I'm learning that everybody doesn't want the truth, and I respect that. Everybody can't handle the truth. I'm learning to respect that. But I also say, if you don't want the truth in its rawest, uncut form, don't ask me. Don't invite me into the conversation, because that's how I am. I'm going to give it to you. Boom, shit like that.
So my question to you then is, after you give this raw truth, and you happen to give it to somebody who's like really like, oh my God, torn up about it, what's your next step?
I'll try to console them.
You try?
Yeah, because I can only try. I can try, because some people that I've encountered, what they need, I guess, to be consoled, whether it be a certain level of attention, a certain level of follow-up, I can't provide for them.
Why? You gave them the truth.
Yeah, I gave them the truth.
So why can't you provide the comfort and the...
It does, for them, it just doesn't fit. Like, I'm not able to do that other side.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, it's like, I know, and I'm trying to find a way to work. I wish I could think of an example. But it's like, if some people, they like to rehearse the same things over and over again after it was said. And for me, it's like, there's a point where I say, I can't talk about this anymore. I just can't talk about it anymore. So it's not that I don't care, or maybe I don't care, I don't know, but I'm not talking about this anymore. You need to find somebody else to talk to about this.
Why? You're the one that gave them the truth.
Exactly.
So talk about it until it's resolved.
So now that is in their awareness, they can go, because I am number one of the 7 billion in this world. Go find somebody else.
But you gave them that truth. So they're coming back to you to hash it out and unpack it.
Yeah. Now if we're unpacking it as far as same topic, different revelations, I'm completely okay with that.
Okay.
But if we're rehearsing, if we're having the same conversation, I don't even mind having it maybe twice. Like, for me, that's the grace. I'll have the same conversation with you twice, maybe 3 times. If I really, now, this is where relationship comes. If I really love you, I'll deal with it forever, I guess. Because there are some of my friends, I tell them, I don't even know if they're watching now, but I'll tell them, if you weren't already my friend, we wouldn't be friends.
Wow.
Because you're already in that spot, so you're good. Okay. But if you weren't in that spot, I couldn't deal with this. Like, it's emotionally where I am. And that's what I'm saying. It's not so much about them. Right. It's about where I am. Okay. It's like, I just can't deal with all of that. Okay. That's my moment of transparency. For those. Look, like my friend Sheila, she says he tells me that, right? Because I do tell her that. I love her to death. And if I didn't love her, I wouldn't love her. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I love her to death. And because I know that there are some things I still have to deal with personally. Yeah. And also to answer your question again as to why I tell people the truth in the way that I do, because I actually want the truth in that same way. I don't like things being sugar-coated, because what I've learned in my experience, that when things are sugar-coated, they tend to be misunderstood. And a lot of times it was, well, I didn't want to say it like that because I didn't want to be mean. But for me, it's like, well, if I heard it like that, I would have understood better what was going on. Like, you're trying to soften the blow when this was a moment of urgency. You should have said it like it was a moment of urgency, instead of like, oh, I didn't want to hurt your feelings. But now look, you know what I mean? I didn't know it was that big of a deal, and here I am in this situation. When you should have just told me, boom, like, just tell me, let me deal with it so that I can properly respond. So everybody's not me, you know, but we talk to people based on who we are, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of on that. You know, you guys are free to jump in at any moment too. You know what's going to happen? Let me tell you, Natalie, because they already know. When the cameras go off, we're going to have like all of this conversation.
So 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I'm convinced they reserve it.
I'm letting you get your therapy out. Because while you were saying that, I was thinking the same thing. Typically, when we're talking relationally when it comes to healing, because we are in relation with people, whether they're strangers, acquaintances, really good friends, spouses, whatever. We are people who are all interacting with each other in some form of relationship.
Right.
So that's first thing. The second thing is, that's the same thing I was thinking, that we typically give other people from the place that we live. Yeah. We typically give, like, if I'm just a blunt, straight up person because I want the people who are in my circle or around me to give it to me like that way, that's the way that we're most often in relationship with other people from that. The other thing that I wanted to say is, now that we've got all of that even if someone is unaware, or of the fact that they know, they may not understand all the layers that come with what the truth is of your broken pieces, then how do you put it all together? Because if I'm telling you that this issue is what it is, and you're not able to understand it, most people cannot, in a healthy way, continue being in
relationship with that person because of the emotion that thing brings up, and because that thing keeps coming up. One of two things happen: either they're going to suppress what they actually feel because of the love for that person, just like you're saying, I already love you, dude, but I can't cut you off. But if I ain't know you, I'd kick you in your behind. That type of situation. Or they're going to distance themselves because it's a problem. So we're talking about healing. We're talking about once we get to that place of understanding that, hey, things happen. How do we get healing from that? You know what I'm saying? How do you put all of that in the context of healing? Because you're not healing if you're distancing it from yourself truly, and you're not healing when you're suppressing what you really feel just to be in communion with somebody else. I don't believe it, personally.
Okay, so I might need a little bit more detail, a couple more pieces to that puzzle, because as you were talking, I was thinking about, if you love bread, and every time you
that's great.
but every time you eat bread, you have a headache, and your belly aches, and I just love bread. So you go to the doctor, and the doctor says you got to cut the bread out.
Right.
That's where you will get your healing.
Yes.
You got to cut it out because it's no good for you.
Yes.
So in that relationship where you're bringing that, trying to make that person aware, and they are not getting it, and they're clearly not good for you, then to be healed, you have to cut it out.
Right.
You have to cut it out.
And I'm glad
to be healed. But that process there is hard because you already love that person, or
right? I agree.
Like you love the bread.
Yes.
Yeah,
so let's talk about that.
I agree.
Yes, and I want to talk about the process because, like I said, the way that I am, yes. Yes, my mom. Okay. So, because I do love people, but I have very effective scissors. You know what I mean? If I cut you off, my scissors are top notch. Like, they don't rust, they don't jam. Right. But I know, if I'm being completely transparent, my ability to cut some people off, I cannot say 100% that is healthy. I can say 100% that it is effective.
Right.
Because if I, like, I'm from up top, right? So when I tell a person, like, you're dead to me, the fact that I told you that was like me hearing your last breath. Because at that point, I don't even acknowledge you as a person, as an entity. Like, at that moment, you're a distant memory. And I'm not saying, I'll be, completely transparent. I'm not saying it's healthy, but it's very effective. So now here's my issue. When other people are like, yo, this person blah, 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 whatever, this person's bad, and I'm like, why don't you just cut them off? Right? Because for me, it's like, just cut them off. Like, get your scissors, snip, snip, right? But so maybe you can help all of us. And I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but because I know there's a healthy way to cut people off. I believe that God is so good. I know there's a healthy way to cut people off. What is the healthy way? Because I know about oxytocin and all that. I'm not trying to go that deep, Maybe, I don't know, it's up to the people, but I do know that there are literally, your body goes through the withdrawal when you cut people off and stuff like that.
The grieving process.
Yes,
you grieve.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you get like a form of death almost, because your body.
I mean, depending on how strong the bond was.
Exactly.
In the first place.
Yeah.
What kind of bond it was in the first place.
So maybe we should talk about that. I thought that was common knowledge. That's my bad. So maybe we should talk about that as well.
That's never been my experience.
So.
No, because for me, once I get to the point I've done all of those steps, it is like, okay, then I've already given you what it takes to interact with me. And because we're not on the same page, not saying it's permanent, who knows? You may change, maybe I may change.
Right.
But for right now, we ain't talking. And
You're
you step
better
into
than
a
me.
room and
You're better than me, because I'd be like, you're dead. I would never know if you changed. Because you're dead. I'll never know.
Well, you can never say what life brings to you. That's why I put that in there.
And so your question was how to end
Well, actually, he was talking about bringing out the process of the emotional impact.
Of cutting someone off.
Of cutting somebody off.
Because most people like, and I love the bread analogy, right?
Yeah.
Because I do love bread. When I was at my fittest, I cut bread off.
Yeah.
And I might be answering my own question, but I still would like to hear your insight.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that I was able to cut the bread off was I was focusing on what I wanted and how the bread went against what I... Like, there was a point where I had to stop thinking about how good it was and this, and the third.
Wow.
And I had to focus on all the things it actually does that prevents me from getting what I desire.
Okay.
And in rehearsing those things, it wasn't as appeasing anymore. Mm-hmm. And the only way that I would want it is if I tasted it again. Because then my sensories go off, and it's like, and I know that's a process with people, so I know it's a great illustration. So it's like I wouldn't realize that I want it, or I wouldn't understand how much I enjoy it until I eat it. But as long as I effectively stayed away from it, in the way that I would stay away from it, it reminded myself of all the bad things bread does to me, and how bread in and of itself may not be bad, but what bread does to me is the reason why I need to not eat it.
Right.
As long as I focus on that, I was able to avoid it.
Okay.
But bread's not going to knock on my door. You know what I mean?
Right.
Bread not going to text me.
I'm glad you said that, because what the example that comes to my mind is an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
Right? So, battered man or battered woman, let's just take it for, battered woman, for example. She loves him, but he loves me. And it's just this cycle of, I'm going to go back because we have kids, or because he says he loves me. When he's nice, he's really nice.
Right.
But to use the words that you just used, what he does to me is not good for me.
Right.
When he blacks my eye or sends me out, just naked in the street at 2 o'clock in the morning and won't let me back in. So all the horrific things. Yeah. Now here's the thing. For the guy that says, "Oh, I'm gonna change, I'm gonna do right.
Yeah.
I love you, remember the times when we was, all of that other stuff. Remember when you gonna let that go? All of that." Right? Yeah. The narrative needs to be before the scissors are employed. You blacked my eye. Okay. You sent me to the hospital. I have false teeth because of you. Mercy. Right. And I can't have any more children because of the damage that you did. Mercy, yeah. Right. So you have not shown me that you would do anything different. And until you get help and prove to me that you are worthy of being in my space and making my space safe, you will not have access to me. It's that. Because it's back to that awareness. Yes. They need to be aware. Because the guy that abuses the girl, he's got his own stuff going on.
Yeah, right.
So in his own thing, it just makes sense that this is how I love this lady, and the victim and their thought process is different than a healthy mind, taking for granted. But in order for that relationship to be any kind of healthy, the victim with support. I'm just going to go ahead and say that the victim with her own support group, her own sense of support, has to get to a point where she can draw the boundaries and say no more. Right? No more because of A, B, C, D, and E. And
you think they should write it down?
No, you tell them. I mean, however it works. Yeah. However it works. And you will not have access to me until I see A, B, C, D, and E. This is what access to me will look like before I grant you access. Okay, so you're dead to me is it doesn't have to be an option unless obviously there's some extreme just extreme stuff which happens unfortunately. But even in those extreme times, there's still room for forgiveness and release and let go and understanding and being aware. There's still room for that. Right. I remember a clip. I think it's an old clip of a convicted murderer or something, and the family of one of the victims was in the courtroom with the murderer, and it was the father, and he went to the murderer, last words before the murderer was sentenced, and he looked eye to eye with the guy and he said, "I forgive you." So the murderer was still very flat affected. I'm sure he's heard stuff like that before. But that father went into that person's soul. He said, I know that you're a child of God. I know that you've been hurt before. I know. And just the man just broke. That's what it means to forgive, to have compassion, to release, to go through that process. Now, I doubt that speech happened a day after his child was murdered. It was probably some time, some processing and that kind of thing to get to that point where he could be face to face with, that kind of thing. But the end result wasn't you're dead to me, because that's not gospel and that's not truth. That's not. No.
Yeah,
we are meant to be relational, right? We do want to be connected to the people that we love, to the people that we've been bonded to. So we seek for that, right? Just the way God seeks to still chase us down when he should be, for all intents and purposes, you're dead to me. Because you steady messing up.
Right.
But he knows what manner of people that we really are.
Yeah, got you.
Follow? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
But
I mean, no, I agree with everything that you said.
The but for me is, like you said, the space and time that it takes for someone to go from an offense or a trauma to I forgive you and I'm able to be in your presence and be relational to you is subjective. It's subjective. I may, because I love my sister, if she steps on my foot or she does something to me, I may be able to say, this is what you did to me, this is how I feel, this is what I don't like, and this is what I would like to happen in the future.
Right.
But because of the family dynamic, that's the way she structures her life, that's her characteristic, that's her behavior.
Yeah.
It would take a whole lot of work for herself to decide that, one, it's a value for her life, and two, that I mean enough to her for her to process what I said and even think about trying to change and then change it. Yeah. Right? And in the meantime, I'm like, well, I love her. So I know that, I can't take her out on the road with me for an overnight trip, but I could go to dinner with her at that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's subjective. That time is going to be subjective to whatever the grievance is, whatever, like you said, the relationship, how close you were. Right. There are a lot of mitigating factors.
There are a lot of mitigating factors. It is complex. It is not simple by any means. But even with what you just said, at some point, I just can't be around Sissy. I just can't do it. She hurts me way too much. She is toxic. Absolutely. Every time we're together, we end up arguing and just feel worse than how I did before I got there. I just can't do it until until I'm healed. And healing gets to a place where I can just understand what she's been, what she's talking about, and. It's just not effective because I understand. I see you, I feel you, and you're not going to pull me into that toxic space, right? So let me just go back a little bit to that. I said grief earlier on because you were talking about the pulling away, the sadness. Okay, there is a grief involved. There is a grief cycle involved, and the last stage of grief is acceptance. So that's what I was just talking about. So I just described getting to the place where you accept that your offender is the way he is the way she is. Yeah. He does not intend to change. Right. I love him, but I cannot love him the way I used to love him. Right. And he's not going to change. And there is a grief because there's a sadness because the relationship that you hoped to have with your sister, the relationship you hope to have with that loved one will never be because they choose not to be accountable to the awareness that you provided for them. Yeah. And that's a fact. So when you give people the golden scissors, I want to encourage you to make sure that they are aware that because you are not responding in the way that I've asked you to respond, I have to do this. Yeah. And I want you to own why you're doing it.
But I even add to that because there's for one, I don't let people get that close to me to where they have to be dead to me. Because I have barriers from my past experiences. I put up walls intentionally to prevent people from getting close to me.
So how relational is that, though?
Not that relational. Okay. But it's very functional. And that's what I mean. It's very I'm being 100. Like I'm a friendly guy. I'm a positive guy. It took. How can I say? Okay. The things that I've been through, I don't want to make them trivial. Mm-hmm. But I know people who've gone through worse, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't understand the full impact of all I've been through until about probably my 20s, right? Then when I understood it things started kind of making sense, and then I started making some turns. But as far as relationships are concerned, I don't need, like, I can be cordial with anybody. Like, we can have a good time, but I don't need to have that connection with a lot of people. I have my group, you know, and some people, they sneak in. And when I came down here, no, it's literally a sneak, because I'm not letting you in.
Right.
You know, I'm not letting you in.
Right.
If you get in, it's because you snuck in.
Right.
You know, God, either you did something or God did something, but it's not, oh, I'm ready to connect with you.
Wow.
It's not
Yeah.
Well, I picked that from like the onset.
Yeah, all the time. And a lot of people, sometimes people mistake my friendliness for connection. You know, I'm very friendly, so people like become like really, really close to me. You know, but I'm not that close to them.
Yeah, but that's not. I want to discourage that wholeheartedly.
Okay.
Because that's traumatic for the person that thought that they were as close.
I know, and that's the part. No, that's the part that sucks. That's the part that sucks.
And then people are gonna have to go through the process of grieving and forgiving you.
I know,
Right.
I know.
Okay.
That's why we're having this whole conversation, because it's like I'm not going to. And once again, I'm not inviting people in to get close. And a lot of times, those who I'm close to, they know I'm close. I will verbalize it, etc.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They know.
Yeah.
Most of the people, they make assumptions because, you know, I'm not a jerk. I am a jerk, but I'm not a jerk regularly, right? So because generally speaking, I'm nice, the assumption is he's so nice, we must be close. And I feel like that's not my fault that you assume that. A lot of times when I find out that people are connected to me in that way, I do my best to correct them and let them know.
Ain't that cool?
Yeah.
So why not do that on the onset?
Not even that.
No,
At the
because
beginning.
I don't know that they see me like that.
Okay,
You see what I mean?
But
If
then you
I,
would stop the process if that was part of the announcement. Like
But
you first said, like I ain't looking for new friends.
But the converse, when you realize that they thought that they were close, why don't you let them in?
because I don't want them there. Why should I let them
Because
there?
you just told me on Facebook that you love people.
Yes.
And that's what love does. Love is a place of vulnerability. It's a place where they can pass. Love includes vulnerability. Like,
I'm glad you said that
Well,
because what I realized
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
is
I'm gonna have to
people
renege on my
only
word.
look at one side of love.
Yeah, I don't believe you gotta be
People
that
don't
close.
look at the flip side of love. It's always no, if you're loving, then you're nice and you're accepting. That's the only part of love that people are trying to get.
Right.
They're not saying God loves us, but He's saying, listen, I love you, but it's going to be a time in life that, hey, my love for you is finished. You
Well,
know
my
what I'm
love for
saying?
you is displayed in the way that's not so,
Loving.
well done. You know what I'm saying? You about to be well done, but it ain't gonna
This is just
be.
something that just
you
occurred to me
accept-
recently. I was like, we only look at love in one aspect. We don't take that love is multifaceted. We don't understand that there's a flip side of love.
So,
And love does mean sometimes that I need to check you.
Absolutely.
Love does mean sometimes I need to tell you about yourself. Love does mean sometimes I need to cut you off because you right in my atmosphere is not good for me. And if it's not good for me, it's not going to be good for you.
But I don't think she's negating that. What she's challenging is me not letting them in.
Oh, I understand.
Because I
understand that.
Yeah, because I don't
Yeah.
I intentionally
'Cause that's your
don't let
work.
people. As a matter of fact, I've been so good at not letting people in. That's not even intentional. That's my default. Like, I'm not letting you in.
Yeah.
I don't let people in. And part of the reason is, and now, like I said, there is some level of unhealthiness. But what I've learned is if I let you in and I am vulnerable and you violate my vulnerability, the type of person that I am is that I will handle it and sleep well, even though that might have been the end of you. You know what I mean? So to prevent you from even being put in a situation where I have to handle you in that way, I keep a distance.
so at what point do you decide to forgive and engage in that process and actually implement what we've been talking about at that point? So you let them in, they violate your vulnerability, then you bring to their awareness, this is what happened, and I don't want to be the end of you. I want this I want this friendship to work.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
I don't. Will it happen though?
I don't know because I don't let people in.
Because
like
you don't go back, they're dead to you, so you can't fix it.
And not even because in order for you to be dead to me, you had to get that close to me.
Right.
So by not letting you in, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't really affect me because we're not that close.
No. What she's saying is when you have those scissors that you didn't cut somebody off, what part of the process is going back to that person and trying to say, hey, we've had this issue, I have no contact.
I don't know.
And how are we going to now correct it and move on?
Honestly, there's only one person
you just don't have that desire.
Who was dead. Exactly, I don't have the desire.
Like once you get to that point, it's like I don't care about.
But you see, and I know I do say my scissors are very effective, but there's not a lot of people that I cut off. There's not a lot of people that were connected in the first place. Yeah. Right. So in order for me to cut you, you got to be connected. Yeah. Right. I'm not connected, so you're not cut. You see what I mean? We may have went our separate ways, but it was because we were never close anyway.
According to you.
Yeah, according to me, exactly.
Now, so you didn't value them, but that doesn't speak to how they value
because
you
most people
that they had with you.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree. Like there are I can probably count in my hands the people that were close enough to where I had to cut them, and a lot of them were like, my bad, and this, that, and the third. I'm like, okay, cool.
They don't get a second chance.
What is a second chance? Because they're alive. That's the second chance.
No.
And
second chance is
It's an opportunity
for them to make up, to do something different.
So back to the stomp on my movie.
I mean, I can't tell you because
the back.
He's like, yeah.
Okay, back to the stomp on my toe.
I believe it, and I understand because my temperament is pretty.
Because it's like there's a point in me, and I do want you to speak, but for me, it's like I don't have to be cool with you. I don't need you in my life. If you need me in your life, I mean, I praise God that there is a God bigger than both of us. Handle that. Do whatever you got to do with Him, and pray whatever. Because I am submissive to Him, and that's why I'm so comfortable. Because even those who are cut off, who I'm now cordial with. Had it been my way, I wouldn't even be cordial with them. But the Lord is like, no, they can't be dead to you. Like He would tell me that they can't be dead to you. So now we're cordial, but we're not close. But if I don't get that unction from Him, then it's like, because I firmly do not believe that I have to be closely connected to every human being that exists in this world. No. I don't believe that. I don't believe that's a scriptural mandate. I don't believe that's a spiritual mandate. I believe God has us connected to who He has us connected to for reason and purpose. And maybe in the great world, when everything, some people are seasonal, etc.
But I have to say that I on the same token, I don't believe that we ought to be so disconnected from so many people all around the world.
And I agree with you on that. Okay. And I think because even while we're talking about connection, no one saying anything on Facebook. Y'all just watching.
Oh, yeah. Right?
They're not typing nothing.
So but if somebody came to you that you exercise like you're dead to me, and they said to me, look, I really valued our friendship or whatever, and I may have been, my bad.
Yeah. I'll tell them we'll see.
And I want to.
Y'all say we'll see.
So you leave that space open.
It's open if they come back and say it was important because someone did that to me before. I'm like, okay.
So it's only the people who come back.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, because if you're dead to me, I literally I don't think maybe I'm not clear, right?
I mean that.
Because it's not like when you're dead to me, I don't remember you.
Right.
Like I don't even remember you. Like there's a point.
How does that process work?
It's actually that's the
you
thing.
actually go through a mental process of stripping your brain from every
I probably do.
With that person.
I probably do because it's not easy to get to that point.
Right.
Because I don't expect perfection from anybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when you get to the point of you're dead to me, it has to be a major violation that I believe is who you are.
Right.
Not a moment of weakness, not a mistake, but this is
this
you.
Is your character.
And for me, I'm like, oh, Jesus loves you.
Right.
Go to Christ. You know what I mean? Right. I mean, don't keep it in a butt. Jesus loves you. Yeah. So that is me. And like I said, it is so me and I commune with the Spirit, He has not convicted me. Because He's dealing with me on other things.
Yeah.
As far as this, He has not convinced me to be so connected to everybody.
Yeah.
I have a general compassion for people in the sense of I don't like to see people hurt to the best of my ability. But if I have to sacrifice my peace in order to make you feel better, I say Jesus did that for you.
Absolutely.
He sacrificed His peace for you.
So yeah, because
you know what I mean? He
you
did
know
that
what
for
I
you.
hear? You know what I hear? You know what I'm hearing you say? I'm hearing you say that you just don't have the wherewithal, having gone through all the things that you've been through and where you are in life, that you just don't have the wherewithal, the tools within you to offer that to that person.
Yes, I will accept that.
I get
Absolutely.
it. I get it.
That's a great way to put it.
But guess what? You will never have those tools if you maintain the stance of
But that doesn't. I'm
and
okay.
he said, "I'm cool with that."
If I got a 9 and a 4 and 5, I don't need an AK. It's cool. Whatever I got, I'm efficient with it.
No sir.
We make it work.
Sir.
Yeah, that's me. I'm just saying that's me.
And I accept that because I think about for some reason I was thinking about the disciples earlier, and I was gonna post something, but Judas hung out with them. Judas was who he was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of when he dipped that bread, Jesus said, "What? Go handle whatever it is that you have to handle." It was the acceptance. We already agreed that that whole thing. Right. But when you say that's just who you are, that's your makeup. I also think about the James and the two brothers, the thunder guys, right? Yeah. They're just always angry. Yeah. What would you want to do? What do you want to do?
Right.
Okay, I get it. That's who they were, and that's who they are. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But I still have to emphasize the importance of where we are in world's history, or where we are as it pertains to the Holy Spirit and Jesus and the sacrifice and relationships. Like we all know, we're aware that we're like close to the end.
Yeah, it's pretty much a wrap. Yeah, pretty much a wrap.
Pretty much a wrap.
Yeah,
so this includes facing all of that, and you said the Holy Spirit's dealing with you, dealing with me, dealing with whoever wants to allow the Holy Spirit to deal with them.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right. So,
yeah, we talked about that last week. You know what I mean? Not creating that tension. That's something that we talked about. The Holy Spirit doing something in you. Right. That grieving is creating that tension between you and the Spirit.
It will create that tension.
We talked about that.
But just being able to accept. I guess for me, what I'm wanting to be clear on is that. Because love suffers long. What is that? Corinthians 13.
Corinthians 13, yeah.
What's it say?
A bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Patient, kind, long suffering.
Patient, kind, long suffering. Forgives all things. Forgives all things.
Yeah.
Hopes all things. Endures all things. Okay. So for love, it will mean putting the scissors in the back pocket and enduring all things. Yeah. There's a process to it.
It's I recant. I don't love everyone.
He said, look, he looked at
Let me recant my statement for those who've been watching from the beginning. I don't actually love people. I tolerate people.
Oh, wow.
I'm learning the difference. Yeah, no, it's a difference.
That's true. Yeah. It's true.
I tolerate people.
I tolerate.
My wife, I think it's really my wife's fault. I love you, babe, but she says I love people. When I tell her I really don't, she don't even believe in me. But now we have proof, babe. I don't love people. I tolerate people. And I'm not the standard. The Lord is the standard.
She said she got the inside track. She don't.
No, but I did.
Something else. He got one up. Okay. I
yeah, because I tolerate people better than she does, which I think everybody knows. I don't think that's a secret.
No.
But
no, it's not.
But I'm glad you're bringing all this to light because I don't have a desire to connect with a lot of people. I don't feel that need for people who are looking for that connection. I try to connect them with other people who are looking for that connection. You're laughing, but I'm serious. No, you know what I mean? I try to connect them.
I get it. In the same breath, it's like though you're intolerant, those who have made it over, those who have made it inside, love hard.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a long suffering.
Right.
For them. That
because the scissors aren't.
And not like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It is, there's people who, they just love everybody. Okay, that's yours.
That's true.
They do.
I let them
That's
have
me.
it. And I believe that's a gift from God.
Yeah, that's me.
Or a curse, who knows?
You are, yeah.
Go ahead, Renee. Oh wait, were you done, Ben?
But no, I was saying like it's not the absence of all those things we got to talk about in Corinthians 13, but it's just it is a different placement of where those things exist.
Got you.
Yeah.
You know, they are not so readily available
to everybody
and everything.
And it's a defense mechanism because I reserve it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a defense mechanism. I'm not ignorant to that at all. The defense mechanism, I reserve it for my children. I reserve it for my wife. I reserve it for those who I love.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be burnt out from someone who I'm going to forget about when I come home.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. So it's a defense mechanism. This is what I know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just trying to see how you were going to tie that into the gospel.
No, Jesus is the gospel. I keep telling people, and I'm being like so sincere.
I'm legit right now.
Yeah, no, I'm being so sincere. I tell people to follow Christ. I sincerely tell people, don't follow me. Follow Christ. Christ is the one who will never fail you. He'll never leave you. He has bore it all for you. If you're looking for me to do that, I will disappoint you. Because that's not who I am. No, it's a legit fact.
Right.
You have to put that in Christ. Because you're not going to get that from me. At least not now.
Right.
I'm open for change. Always open for change. And God has softened my heart even more since I was back in the day. I've never been a firecracker. For everyone who knows me, I've never been a firecracker. But I am less distant than I was before. But I still hold on to the principle that I'm not going to be extra close with everybody. I have my circle that I am, that's fam. Like if I call you fam, you're fam. And that circle has grown. Like you guys wouldn't be in the circle had God not did a work in me. Because I had a family before I came down to Oakwood. That's still family. You know what I mean? God did something that allowed, and that's what I'm saying. It was God who did it. Because y'all wouldn't, if it was me,
We wouldn't have made the cut.
no, y'all would have made the cut. And I want to be clear, it had nothing to do with who you guys are.
Right,
It had nothing to do with who you are.
I get it.
It's me. I wouldn't even have gotten to know you enough to make a discernment as to whether I want you in my life.
Right.
It's like I don't need you. So you're good. That's but for whatever reason God does what he does.
Right.
And my family circle has grown. I still don't have a desire for the whole world to be my family.
Okay.
I it's not a desire of mine. Yeah. I'm not quick to cut because I'm not quick to connect. So it's like my sisters aren't always out like, I'm about to cut you off. And I'm not always looking for a reason to keep you distant. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's just, and once again, we have to talk about Jesus because I'm not the example. I just want to be very clear, right? But it's not a matter of I'm looking for a reason to not connect with you. It's that I don't have a desire to connect with you. And that does hurt a lot of people. People are offended if they desire to be connected with me and I don't want to be connected with them.
It's rejection.
People, and I will tell people, look for that acceptance from Christ. If you want that level of acceptance, but if you want somebody to be friendly with you, want somebody to be an open ear, this and the third, I'm your guy. But if you want somebody to do all the extra stuff, I got a wife, I got kids, I got other family. I'm not your guy. I'm taking. And even, I liken it to when me and Abby got married. Abby's not the only woman who wanted to be my wife. And Abby was not the only great woman that I dealt with. But I made a choice for her and forsaking everybody. It's not exactly the same, but there's a place that she has that's just different from everybody. And I have friends who I call family. Then I have friends who were cool. Maybe if circumstance or time presents it, we could get closer. Then I have acquaintances where we're cool, but I don't really see anything longevity. And then there's the people who I don't even remember them. They would show up, hey, come on, y'all act like y'all don't have those people. Yo, maybe I don't know. But people like, hey, yo, Lord, what's good? I'm like, I don't even know who you are. And I don't have a desire to.
I can't endorse that way of doing.
I'm with you.
I can't endorse that way of doing life as a God person.
I'm with you.
Right?
Legit.
Because at some point, like, there just has to be, in this process of relationship, forgiveness, there has to be a point where, one of us gets hurt, because that's just a natural part of relationships. All relationships. One of us has to get hurt. and know why we got hurt and get to that point and move through and get stronger and grow stronger together and
I
be
agree with
closer
that.
together.
Why?
As a whole, and I think what
why
I'm
does it have
just
to be with everybody?
Huh?
I guess that's my question. Why does it have to be with everybody?
he said,
Right.
No, I'm serious.
Well,
Why?
you will never meet. You will never meet everybody.
Thank you.
That
know.
there's
So
going
that's
to be
extreme.
somebody
It
who
is,
can,
absolutely.
ultimately be a relationship
But they
that
crossed.
will give them
But they
the
crossed.
opportunity to change.
But they
Which
crossed.
is-
They
Yeah.
crossed your path, not somebody else's path. They crossed your
But
path.
that makes it sound like they only crossed my path. No, I'm not. I'm not trying to be. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just saying.
Are you
This is
sure?
it.
I'm saying.
Are you sure?
Okay, like,
no, this.
like, okay, so let's use this room, and I know the instant that we're supposed to be reflecting, but I like the conversation, right? But look, so we're all in this room. We've
Right.
all crossed each other's path.
Right
now.
Right.
We're all not going to be that close. I don't think we all have to be as close to each other simply because we're all crossing each other's path at the same time.
Let me tell you, we don't have to be, but there is a potential and an opportunity to be at some point.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that's
yeah,
all
just
I'm
do
saying.
it then.
So
Okay.
we don't have to strive to. I have to be closer.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't have
I
to do
agree.
that. We
Yeah.
don't. That's not a mandate.
I
right?
agree with you on that.
But the biblical mandate is love one another.
Yes.
As I have loved you through Christ. Now, love involves suffering long, forgiving,
yeah.
all of that. So, in order to get to that place, there has to be some process of connection, some communication, some
Absolutely.
downtime, some tears,
Yeah.
some anger, some vulnerability.
So
But
we're on the
everybody,
same page.
everybody doesn't have to get the strong arm because
No, and I agree with that. I don't. Yeah, and that's why I want to be clear. I don't force people out. I just don't force people in. And I think there's a difference.
So I'm not saying force. I said strong arm. So when the running back of the guy's running with the ball, he's just keeping you away. You got the ball. You're just gonna.
But it's not even like when I say it's to the point where I don't even try to keep people away. They're just away.
Okay.
Like there are people, and I guess it depends on who you meet. There are people who like you said, that's a great analogy. They're running towards me like they're about to tackle me.
Yeah.
And I have to be like, not so close. Take some steps towards me. Walk towards me.
Gotcha.
Don't run towards me.
I got you.
Because I'm not running towards you. The promise says, God says, if you seek me, if you draw close to me, I'll draw close to you. That's what the Lord does with you. So you run to the Lord because he's running close to you. When it comes to me, you take your steps.
Okay.
You walk.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I'm not going to, and I don't want everybody in my energy.
Yeah.
Certain personalities I don't want to tolerate for the sake of protecting me and my family. There's a lot involved. It's not a matter of, oh, you're human, get out my face. It's not that. It's not that extreme. Okay. I truly do tolerate humans. I tolerate people. I can't say I love them based on what we've been talking about. I don't love them, but I have a high tolerance for people. But I do. And once again, I'm not and that's why I like the fact that me and Natalie are talking. See? Because we're able to give both of those sides.
Right.
Where it's a matter of, I don't believe in being cold-hearted. If somebody, and I guess we'll have to just talk about this another time because I'm about to go into a whole other conversation about what it even means to be a friend. Can you be a friend to somebody and they not be a friend to you? And all of these things that are very important to discuss. You know what I mean? That are very important to discuss for the sake of healing and even for the sake of guarding. And I guess go ahead.
No, because I think that's important because I've said to several people in my life that you don't have to be my friend. That's not going to stop me from being friendly to you or being a friend just because you say, oh, I'm not your friend. You good. That's not going to change me and who I am or what I'm doing. Just because you want to be jerk.com does not mean that I'm going to be, you know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
So that's important.
What does that look like?
What?
You
just being me.
No,
like, okay, let's say when I came in the room, I said good night or whatever. You just pretended like you didn't hear me or you didn't want to hear me.
Right.
That's not gonna stop me the next time I come in not to speak. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think that we really need to be careful with when we're saying, okay, I don't want to be your friend or da 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 da. You don't necessarily change who I am because you're doing you. And that's cool. That's great. But that's not going to stop me from, hey, how are you? I like your skirt or whatever. You know what I'm saying? To me, that's being friendly. Now, I don't have to be all in your face and be like, oh, where'd you get that from? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are levels to this thing. But just because you don't feel that you necessarily want to connect more with me, doesn't stop me from connecting with you. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of how intimate it gets. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah. Cause that's needed. Cause
I'm
I'm like
to the
y'all.
realization.
I don't have to have a lot of friends. I feel like I got 30 and started making friends. I feel like that's the wrong part of my life. Because I just don't have to have a relationship. But that's like a lot of people that came around is like I was cool with us being associates because you're associated with people that I associated with. But by them being who they were, it kind of drew me closer for me to let down my own walls and be like, okay, well, I guess I can have more people in my circle than I thought I ever needed. But if they had stopped being who they were, who you were, then it would have been like, well, cool. I said, I want to be your friend, and you want to be mine. Now I'm back there.
It would have been,
It would not have been good.
It would not be good.
WWJD. What would Jesus do?
All y'all need to business cards.
But you know what? But that's
Sometimes
but that's the
I honestly
beauty.
and truly look at this, and I say, well, I don't know what love is. If this is love, then I don't know.
Right.
Because I can't look over my life in the 45 years I've existed on this earth and say that I looked at anybody
Right.
and embraced all of it.
Right.
See, but that's
Nobody.
the thing. I look at, like, when I read that list, I see Abby, I see my kids, I see my mom. My mom could do, like, no wrong. I have other people, you know, in my life that have that space. You know?
But is it because they have that space or because you make those allowances for them to inhabit that space?
I think it's both. I think it's a combination of both because no one can force themselves in my life. Yeah, you good. No one can force themselves into my life. You know what I mean? And Kiki, you actually said it best. It must have been something about them that made me be like, you know what? I can bang with them. I can connect with them on a deeper level. You know what I mean? Because I believe there is. And I guess we have to break down the levels. And I know Facebook, I'm sorry, we might have to cut y'all short and have a conversation without y'all because it's getting late. Yeah, but I tried to warn you. But I tried to tell you. Because after this. Let me let Facebook go and then we're going to keep talking. I'm sorry, Facebook. Y'all just going to have to miss
before you
this.
let her go, let me ask Natalie.
No, she's going to stay.
Oh,
I'm going to let Facebook go.
Yeah, I want to
okay.
ask this question for Facebook.
Okay.
From a therapist's perspective, how do we put these principles in 1 Corinthians 13 in an applicable practice?
Mercy,
in
God.
life? That's what I want to know. How do we how can we put this in 1 Corinthians 13? How does that look with us utilize? How do we
put that in
walk
practice?
that in
What does it
life?
look like?
What does it look like?
Okay. I want to be able to answer the question. I really want to be able to answer the question really well. So, is there a scenario that somebody could throw out where we can actually put it on the scenario and we can kind of go walk through it? Is there a scenario that comes to mind with that question?
Yeah, like what comes to mind? Like what's something that would make it hard for you to walk this out? Yeah.
Okay, we go with the scenario we've been talking about earlier. Say there's a sibling who just is not mistake, it's intentional. I am who I am and you just accept it or not. And you're in that space of, okay, it's now evident to me that it's toxic to be in, constant communion with you and having a relationship with you like that. How would somebody go about putting this in place in that context?
For this to work in that from a clinical perspective, because from a clinician, any client that comes to my office and asks that question, my responsibility is for the client's well-being first and foremost.
Right.
The client's emotional and mental well-being first and foremost. So you first would need to take care of yourself, right? Take care of what is bothering you the most about this relationship. All right, what's hurting you most, and take care of that part, of that wounded part first and foremost. Let's deal with that. Whatever the past was, whatever, the infractions of that sibling. She did this, and then she told my parents this, and then this, and she's just straight up toxic. Okay, all right. So there's a way, I think, to love an individual without them being in that vulnerable place. So we go love never gives up on the sister, right? You just you never give up. You just kind of like, all right, one day she'll get it, right? But the reality is always facing the reality that this is who she is today.
Right.
Okay. So I'm not going to give up on you.
Right.
It looks like this is who sister is, but okay, and that's that. So
but leaving it open that she could change and this and the third.
Right. Cares more for others than for self. If Sissy is going through it, right? Myself is like, all right, she hurt me, and to care for me more than I care for her in this context would mean for me to put my wall up and just not even pay attention to what she's suffering through. But I am going to serve her or whatever the need is, and not put that wall up. Care for her, for that part of her more than I care for me. At the same time, taking care of the wound and working towards healing that wound in that wounded place. Following so far? Okay. So then, love doesn't want what it doesn't have. All right, we know it doesn't strut. You're not gonna throw all her infractions into her face all the time. You're doing good, haters want to hate, but I'm, and I'm just doing. That's not love. That's not love. It doesn't strut. It doesn't just flaunt what I've got and you don't have it. That's not love. You just do your thing. You do you quietly.
Real quick, I don't know what this means to you, but I would say it. David Hicks says that you're not qualified to give advice.
Who, me?
Yeah. David Hicks said that. I don't know if you know him.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh.
He said, I'm not qualified.
Yeah, I figured it was a joke. I thought he was joking with
Ask
you.
him who it is.
My Lord. What?
Yeah, that was a while ago.
He put that a while ago?
Yeah, he did.
Did he address Natalie? Did he address you?
No, he said, but
No, he
tell
said
Natalie she's not
specific
qualified
Natalie.
to give advice.
Okay.
And I thought he was joking. It sounded like a joke to me.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's why I'm not easily offended. Someone could have said that to me. I would have thought they was joking. And I would have just laughed.
Oh, so if it was a long time ago, it could have been on something that kind of
Maybe.
pricked him, and so he was like, you're not qualified to say that.
Maybe.
Stepping on the
It's on. It's
toes.
all good.
I don't know if he's still on. I can't tell he's
Tell him,
still on.
step
I
in
doubt
on
it,
the
but-
toes.
Doesn't have a swelled head. Like, we don't think more of ourselves than what the reality is.
Dust.
Okay? Like, I'm your sister, you're my sister, I'm not better than you, you're not better than me. It's just like the reality is this is who we are. And love doesn't force itself on others. Like what you said, right? I love you, but I'm not going to force myself in your space. You don't want it? You want to be toxic? Be toxic. I'm just going to love you over here. And love you,
Yeah, don't force yourself on me.
force-
That's my whole point.
That's what you said.
That's my whole
Run towards
I mean,
me.
you just
I'm just saying, that's what I've been saying the whole time. Like, you over here.
Love isn't always me first.
That's
It
right.
always isn't.
It's not
me.
always.
It's not
Yeah.
always
It's
me
sometimes.
first, right?
Not always.
It's not
Exactly.
always me first.
It's
Right?
not, it's
It
not always.
doesn't. It doesn't fly.
There are
on the
times where I
so
get the
when
first
Sissy-
piece of me. Like,
So when Sissy comes into the room and she's getting ready to go, start her little toxicity, it doesn't. You're not gonna tell me what I.
not
You
always.
already know. You already
Not-
know
not
what
always.
she's coming with. You already know what she's coming with. Let her do her.
Right.
That would be great.
Let her be. Just let her do her.
Sometimes.
Right. So, and doesn't keep score. Doesn't keep score of the sins of others.
Exactly.
You don't always have to be thinking about what she did that time, what she did that time. And this goes
Exactly.
back to the very first point that I made. Taking care of you.
Yeah.
Doing you.
Yeah.
Taking care of you. Because I really, in the grand scheme of things, when you're doing you and loving on you and healing you, you
Absolutely.
don't have time
Yes.
to be thinking about the scores,
That's
swelling
right,
up your
that's
head,
right, that's right.
forcing yourself into her space,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth.
And the spirit does things in you that become almost a natural response because of the healing that you're receiving
Right.
for yourself.
Doesn't
Absolutely.
revel in when others
Absolutely.
grovel. Like it's not like finally,
Finally, yeah,
finally
yeah,
she got
yeah,
her.
yeah.
Finally, God. And I've heard people testify
Yeah.
about how God
The Lord
got them.
got- yeah,
I don't say
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Pick it
yeah.
up. Say that's not love.
Right,
That's not love
right,
because
right.
it could have been you.
Yeah. And it
Your-
should have been you had it not
Ain't no
been.
way.
Well,
Right. And
well,
it takes pleasure in the flowering of truth, like the reality, the awareness
that's
of
my
what's
point.
happening.
That's why I
It's
always
like,
give it raw and
you
uncut.
can give it raw and uncut, right? You can get a raw and uncut, but if that raw and uncut has them groveling and in pain, you wait there until it flowers of the truth, till it flowers, till it becomes something beautiful to them.
Yeah, I truly will. I say, look, I'm gonna give you the truth.
Right, I'm gonna be there till it becomes something beautiful to you.
What?
No, we know more. Right?
I'm just keeping it real. I'm just I'm not there yet.
And that's okay because we're all growing. But I like this. I like the conversation because it lets us know where we're growing to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a picture of our future selves. So I do.
Absolutely.
You know, it's fine.
All right.
No, I got you.
Puts up with anything. Ooh. Look, why did she roll her eyes at me?
Because I'm not.
Know. I mean, I'm gonna have to look at the Greek on this to make sure.
I would appreciate it, but okay, so here's the thing. I want you to look up.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not.
I want you to look up.
Period. Point blank. I'm not.
Listen, I want him to look up the Greek of it.
What? What's up with anything?
Yeah, I want to see
You
that's
asked me.
actually what it
What's the
says.
word? You asked me as a
You
clinician.
right now?
I'm listening.
You asked me as a clinician.
I can only speak to who I am right now at this moment, sitting here on this couch.
And as a
I'm not
clinician-
going to put up with anything.
And as a clinician, I will tell that client to set boundaries.
Right.
important.
But this don't
Yeah.
say set boundaries. This say puts up with anything.
I can't speak. I can't.
This is what it says. I'm reading the same verses as anything.
Right.
That's the word, right? That's the
That
word.
means that Everett said, you know what, I'm bringing Susie down from down the street into the house and you ain't got nothing to say about it. That's anything.
Bring Susie on. Bring Susie on. Bring Susie on.
And all 8 of her kids.
All 8 of her kids.
Wow.
Do anything belong to him?
So love me, and I can bring Becky with the good
That's a
hair
different element.
into
I'm
this
just
house.
saying anything.
And Abby just gonna have to deal with it and say, you know
Anything.
what?
I mean, anything
Becky here, we
means,
might as well take advantage.
excuse me, anything means,
As far as
anything means whatever the situation
right,
is.
and as far as I'm concerned,
I'm trying
at
to see
this
if you love
point,
me.
putting up with anything gives me an opportunity to go to the God that He would send me.
Preach, absolutely.
That's what that gives me to because.
So are you saying that in the moment of anything, I'm just tolerating it, and then I go into my prayer closet and take it to God and let Him fix it?
Look, as a clinician,
In that moment,
as a clinician, I'm not sending you into the environment of a toxic person. I'm not doing it.
Which verse is that?
that's
I
it's like
got the
7.
message. I
It's
know.
like mid-7.
Yeah.
It's in between.
As
6
a
and 8.
clinician, I'm not sending you out there to put up with
Right.
that person's toxicity.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you to set the boundaries
Okay.
and make sure that you
I do, baby.
keep
Very
good
well.
distance. Yeah. Set hard, strong boundaries. Find a support system
You
that
ain't
will
gotta
help
agree
you.
with it, but
Yeah. So as a
So,
clinician, that's where I'm going.
Is that the endure all? Is that the endure all things part?
It's yeah, I guess
Yes,
that would be.
yes.
Oh, so the message is saying puts up with
anything.
anything.
Yeah, the message version says puts up with anything.
Yeah, because that's
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
But then it says trust God always. That's what love does. It trusts God
Right.
always. So look, for me, like I said, puts up with anything gives me the opportunity to go to God. Because I've been in some hard relationships, that I've had to put up with. Is either put up with or just not an option to do anything more. And I've had to go to God to just give me whatever it was I needed to get me through. It just was what it was. Work, work wherever I was, wherever the situation. I had to trust God always, to take me through, to give me the tools that I needed to go to make it through. Right. Always looks for the best. That's what love does. Right. So Sissy is a toxic chick, but she does hair really well. Right. So the best is, man, she could put a weave in.
Right.
She could flat iron some mess out of someone's hair. She always looks for the best.
Right.
Yeah.
Beat that face.
Yeah. She can beat that. Yeah. Always looks for the best. Never.
Them eyes right now.
Never looks back. Right? Never looks back, but keeps going to the end. Love never dies. So it's really above and beyond. Just going above and beyond, and we really can't love without who? God.
No, not the spirit.
Not this kind of love.
Right.
We can't do it. Did I answer your question?
You did. You did. That was
And
awesome.
I have to
So
get
go ahead.
Question.
so
Off camera.
my husband. She said
You said on camera?
Off camera.
I think it's
off
super,
camera.
super important that we remember that, you know, God is the standard, and we always have
Absolutely.
to point, it doesn't matter who it is, point them to Christ, because, like Lauren said earlier, you will be upset, hurt, busted, and disgusted if you look at me to be the standard.
Right.
And I think that's the important part of why Christ actually came, because the Jews were trying to do it on their own. So as long as we remember that if you could do it on your own, you would not have need for the Savior.
Right.
So you always gotta right back to Christ. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep looking that way.
So with that understanding,
Higher.
are you saying that people should have the ability to apply some grace?
You have to have grace, because if you don't have grace for other people, then why should God continue to give you grace with what you doing?
Because we talked about 2 weeks
See,
ago.
but look,
And that goes back-
but the
that's
fact,
what I was
right?
saying, that goes back
But
to
the
the
fact of the
original
matter is, God will always continue to give you that grace,
will.
right?
But you know, some of us will cut folks off in a minute.
Because we haven't experienced it
But
and
that's grace.
internalized it.
But that's
That's
By letting them live, you let them live. So that's great.
But even that,
Grace.
Because you will, I will end your life,
My Lord.
and you will cease breathing.
Did
But grace is you gonna go on over there, and I'm gonna stay over there, and then you can stay alive. Like for real.
Oh, I brought some.
But no, what Natalie's
what they
actually talking about, which I think is a great point of reflection, is that I've always been an advocate for focusing on the Spirit of God. Because as you experience God more, there are things that you can extend to other people. Like it grows in you. As it grows in you, it overflows out of you. So I've always been, but that's the spiritual side. That's the pastoral side. That's why I have Natalie here on the clinical side. Not to say that they conflict. It's not a matter of conflicting. It's a matter of working in harmony. I believe we can look at it from several angles, but we all agree, those of us who are believers, that as we grow, if you are trying to quote unquote apply these things, but you're not experiencing these things in the Spirit through Christ, you are already coming from a disadvantage point. You need to take that time to experience what these things are, because Christ indeed does it for us, and He has done it for us, and He's still doing it for us. And it's a matter of experiencing it, not just knowing it in the terms of a knowledge thing, but recognizing, wow, look at what Christ is doing for me. That's when it overflows out of you. So it's not a matter of, I mean, we talked about a lot. We're definitely going to have to bring you back and talk about some more. We're definitely going to probably end up still talking now. But I do want people to kind of reflect on some of the things that we've been dealing with, asking yourself, first, where is your relationship with Christ? Have you experienced the forgiveness of Christ for yourself? Do you recognize that God has indeed endured all and is enduring all? Do you have you been tormented with guilt and shame and not recognizing that all these things that you think you're guilty of, that you feel ashamed, Christ has already loved you beyond that. He's already taken it. He's already removed it from you. He said, as far as the east is from the west, right? That He loves us in such a way that words can't even articulate what Christ has done for us and is doing for us.
And He says, by His stripes we
are
are
healed.
healed.
Amen.
So it's that decision already. Like, I'm healed. I just have to go through the process of being healed.
Yeah.
We break a bone. We got the
Manifestation.
cast on. That's the healing process. But I still have to give it some rest.
Yeah.
Take care of myself.
Yeah. 'Cause what you
towards
eat affects
healing.
how the bone is healed and everything.
All
so.
of that.
Yeah, so I want, all right, so for everybody just close your eyes real quick. Everybody close your eyes, take a deep breath. And we're not going to have the music playing on today, but I want you to just kind of think. This is not a place of judgment, right? We're not trying to interpret at this point. We're just trying to observe what comes to mind. When you hear the word forgiveness, what comes to mind? Just kind of observe the different thoughts that come to mind. When you hear the word forgiveness, what comes to mind? When you hear the word pain, what comes to mind? For everybody, will be different. Do you believe that you can move on from your pain? That God can heal you? Not teach you how to just cope, but heal you from your pain. Is that a belief that you have? And if yes, why? If no, why? But kind of just think about that. And then last question, especially for those who are taking notes or writing down. Are you prepared to extend that healing to somebody else? Are you prepared to extend that healing to somebody else? Let's pray real quick. Father God in heaven, we thank you that you have indeed forgiven us first, which empowers us to forgive. We thank you that you loved us first, which empowers us to love. And Lord, as we discussed so many things, you brought so much to light, and we have to go through that process of understanding it and experiencing it and accepting it, and all of that comes with it so that it can be internalized. But I'm so grateful for your grace that you are growing us, and that we're not remaining stagnant, but we are forever growing to look more and more like you. So with everything that has been coming to mind, with everything that's been discussed, work in us those things that need to be worked out according to your plan and according to your spirit. Touch us in those areas so that we may grow and look more like you, recognizing that ultimately you have healed us and that there is nothing that the enemy can do to us that you have not already healed us from and delivered us from. So help us to not walk in fear to be like you, but to recognize being like you is ultimately the perfect manifestation of healing. So we long for that day. We believe that day is coming. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Thank you guys for joining me. I will thank you, Natalie, for joining us.
Thank you.
As the conversation continues, I'm going to put a link up. I normally do it in the beginning. Actually, because I was on the website. I'm going to put a link up for those of you. I'll do it on my phone because I don't feel like going back to the website. For those of you who want to donate to the ministry, we're still sending Bibles to Zimbabwe. So, yeah, we packed them up in a nice big old box. Yeah, it is. It's a heavy box. This is...
I think it's 176 Bibles.
176? So thank you for all of you who already donated. Thank you for those of you who sent Bibles. The church that I'm working with out there in Zimbabwe, they are in need of it. They're going out to the community. And, we take stuff for granted. We use our apps. And I'm not going to lie, when I first went out there, I was like, you need Bibles? You can just download an app. And he looked at me like, brother, you don't know where you are. And I'm like, oh, yeah, my bad. We are extra privileged. So it's nothing for us. We have 10 Bibles in the house, but for them, it's like oil, it's like gold for them to have these Bibles. And the church out there, they're doing an awesome work, dealing with those who are drug infested, dealing with those who are in the sex trade. They're doing an awesome work in Zimbabwe, and all they requested was Bibles. I'm like, we can do that. That is so easy for us. So we're almost at that point where we can send it. So if you want to donate, please donate. Other things that we're doing, but you are officially dismissed. Peace.